In this topic, we will understand the concept of Apple's iOS secure boot chain mechanism. iOS follows the approach of secure boot chain to make sure that every layer of boot process is properly signed. This approach follows the concept of digital signatures. So you can refer how the digital signature works from the earlier videos. So in secure boot chain mechanism, the idea is that every time you start your phone, we want the device to make sure that software that's running after the boot is in fact the Apple approved software and nothing else. The way this works is using secure boot chain concept. The idea is that as every layer of boot process boots, essentially that layer verifies the next layer. So let me explain how this works. So the root of the trust in the iPhone device is essentially what's called the boot ROM. So the boot ROM is installed in the phone during fabrication and it never changes. So this is a boot ROM and it has the Apple root key built into it. And this public key is going to be used to verify the subsequent stages in the boot process by verifying signature on them. And as I said, this particular boot ROM is installed in the device once and for all and never gets updated. So the next thing that happens is the boot ROM essentially loads what's called the low-level bootloader, the LLB. This is a software component that is responsible for starting the iOS. So the low-level bootloader itself is actually updatable code, but it has a signature on it. As you can see, there is a signature down here, and signature is basically issued by Apple using the Apple private key. So the Apple is the only one who can sign this code. What the boot ROM does is it computes the hash of the entire code, verifies signature on this hash, and if the hash is correct, then only it goes ahead and runs the LLB. So this already ensures that when the LLB starts running, this is really an LLB that was provided by Apple and not something that was tampered on the device. So the next step is in the boot process is the iBoot. Again, you can see iBoot has its own signature, also signed using an Apple key, and the LLB verifies and again computes the hash of the iBoot code. And this verifies signature on this, and if the hash is correct and if the signature verification happens on both sides, it will go ahead and run the iBoot. The next step is iOS kernel, and here also the signature gets verified using the Apple public key. And once the kernel boots up, this is when the user login prompt appears and the user logs in. So basically the secure boot chain mechanism makes sure that only the code that can run on the device after the boot has taken place is the code that's been authorized by the Apple. If any tampering of the iBoot or iOS kernel happens, signature verification fails at subsequent stages and the boot process halts. So this way iOS implemented with secure boot chain mechanism in this boot process.